Finally make the hat. I put it on his head and it doesn't fit. It's the exact pain I was trying to avoid. One of the things I'm very adamant about is I very much want the art and the amount of effort I put into making these so great for everybody that I also want to make sure I respect and pay attention to how much time and effort people put into making enough money to buy one, you know? When we're talking about that first one, that very first hat, I was panicked, and I mean panicked like crazy to make that one. Not only because it was the first one somebody was paying me for, but by intents and purposes, it's a large head. It's an extra large head size, and I hadn't made one that size, even though I had made just some hats for friends and things of that nature. But I hadn't made one that size. So you're sitting there and you're looking at something that's kind of different. You're looking at something that's kind of new, and you're trying to make sure that somebody who is paying you for this hat, your first paid hat, you're trying to make sure that what you do is get it right. They spent time and effort to work to have the money to pay you. He was voluntarily paying me and saying, don't you dare like try and do this for free. So there was the respect there to pay me, and I wanted to make sure I had the respect to get it right. And so I was so nervous throughout the process, not only because I was dyeing it and I had done several dye ones for myself, but also because I wanted to make sure that as I made the size and everything, that I got it right. I always wanted the size to be right. And so the fact that it was large, ooh, buddy, that hurt my feelings so bad that I was like, yeah, I'm never doing this again. Like, that is a good connection to the hat, to the void in my studio line. That idea of being in these gaps, being in these spaces, being in these places where you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm never going to do that because I made a big mistake as far as I was concerned. Now, it was easier to fix than it seems because I made it a little too large, and I was able to put some sizers in, and I was able to bring in the hat a little bit. But the funny part about that is, while I was stressed about making it too large, the biggest thing was not that it was actually too large because of a mistake I made. I later actually went back and checked my block. The block was too large. So I'd actually made the hat pretty much the correct size for the block that I was using. It's just that the block that I had gotten, that I had received, the person who made the block actually made it too big. It's one of those elements, one of those things you kind of don't think about when you're creating something new, when you're building something, is the idea that we think about this thing and we think about these mistakes and we think about the things that cause us fear. And we think about it so much in the sense of causing it ourselves, being the person who generates the error, being the person who causes the mistake to happen, being the person who ultimately fails. And there are two different things associated around that, because we have that idea where somewhere along the line we got this idea that we're supposed to be perfect at all things and everything. And so that's what we strive for, perfection, perfection, perfection. However, that's not realistic. We're people, we're human, and being perfect is just not a thing that is realistic. But we go for it anyway. We strive for it anyway. That's what we want. We want to be perfect. And so when we're not perfect, we kind of beat ourselves up about it. We beat ourselves up about this mistake here and this mistake there, and oh, I should have known to do it that way, or I should have known to do it this way. And we kind of completely entirely negate the idea that, first of all, the human element of it is I might not get it perfect. Matter of fact, the human element of it for real is I'm probably not going to get it perfect. And so we need to leave ourselves some space for that truth to occur. And I think some of that space comes in because we have this thing where when we're going to school and we're at school often, we are reminded quite frequently when we're in school that perfection is not a thing. Because we're told daily, you aren't perfect because that's why you're in school. You don't know what's going on. You don't know everything. You can't answer all the questions. You don't have the answers to everything. So you have to learn, and you have to be in a place where you're available to learn. And school helps us out with that tremendously. However, when we get out of school, we get to that point where we go to work and we're expected to know. And we go in our life and we're expected to know. We go around friends and we're expected to know. And we're no longer in those scenarios that are telling us quite consistently, no, you don't know. And you're not expected to know, because that's why you have a teacher here. It's probably one of the best reasons to have a mentor or a coach or a therapist or something, because it helps remind us of those things of not knowing everything. And being patient enough and willing enough to take half a second to find answers, or to take half a minute to be imperfect or to be wrong. Because some of the tragedy that happens when you don't know everything is you want to give up and quit. That give up and quit is kind of how we end up in void. It's how we end up in that territory of thinking, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I shouldn't do that, or why should I even try, or if I was good at that, I would know already. And all those several different statements we have for ourselves that allows us to walk away from something new because of the idea that we don't know what we're doing. I feel like we allow ourselves to walk away from opportunities and learning chances and things that allow us to be in new spaces. We walk away from all of that way too much and way too frequently because of the fear or the thought of not being right, or not knowing what to do, or not being perfect at it. We allow ourselves to sit in a space of being in the void. And see, the thing about the void is, when you're in that space, when you're in that gap, when you're in that area of trying to figure out what next, or what to do, or how to do the next thing, I feel like in so many ways, I feel like in so many ways what happens in that space, what happens in that spacing is we limit ourselves, and we hide ourselves, and we park ourselves from the possibility of being so much more, just because we're too easily connected to telling ourselves no. We look at the space in between stuff, the liminalities and those transitions, and we look at those as territories to stop and to die in and to pause. And those really are great moments and territories instead to actually move forward and to take a next step and to try something new and to venture into a new territory. Those are great spots for that. And we park ourselves so much in that time frame instead. And that's one of those misunderstandings of void. That's one of those misunderstandings of why we do certain things. So that for me, I forgot about this pink one here. That for me is a lovely, lovely anecdote and a lovely explanation around why the void as it is, the territory that it is this great place of possibility this great place of doing something new and elevation and different, that we oftentimes make it to a place where it's our moment to stop and to stop trying and to stop experimenting and to stop doing. And it's partially why we get to these places where we just stop ourselves long before we get an opportunity to go. So yeah, I almost wanted to quit because that first one was real bad. Of course, when you go back and look at it, it isn't real bad. It wasn't awful. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't perfect. Wabi sabi. Things to grow on, things to learn on, things to get better. And times to remember, just because I've started it, or because I'm learning how to do it, doesn't mean I have to do it perfectly. It doesn't mean I don't have space to learn.